Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
I'm John Thomas. Some would say that I go a little too far with my love of all things horror, paranormal, and meta.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our horror lovers out there? In today's episode, we'll be delving into more horror writing with fellow Stephen King enthusiast, Lost Boys loving, Fright Night watching author of the books Doll and Fright Bites, Miracle Austin. Welcome, Miracle.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited. So can't wait.
I feel like I just read my own biography here. So my number one favorite movie is The Lost Boys. And I also love Fright Night.
Yes, great. Both of them.
You know, I just gonna jump right in. You know, you're an author. You've written books like Doll and Fright Bites. And I mean, for those that don't know, Fright Bites is an anthology series. So it's, you know, short stories put into a book. But oh my goodness, those stories. How long have you been writing?
Oh my goodness, Ashley. You know what? I started writing, but I didn't know what I was doing in junior high. I used to write the lyrics of my favorite songs in a notebook. And I just kind of kept them, you know, with me and wrote a little free verse poems, you know, just throughout my high school years, but didn't really get serious until like a few years ago. I just think I always had the stories in my head, but I never unleashed them until, you know, recently.
With the stories that were always playing in your head, is it something that like you're in your walking day life and you're just playing out stories and scenes, or how does that work for you?
You know, whenever something like I get an idea, whether it's, you know, at nighttime, I jot it down or I'll type it, you know, out. But I really like paper and pen. You know, I'm old school with that because I don't know, it just seems to flow better for me before I get to my actual, you know, laptop and start typing it. So I always keep something handy with me at all times. And of course, you know, with your, you know, technology, you know, notes, you know, on your cell phone, I use that quite a bit too, but it's still nothing like the old pen and paper for me.
I'm just amazed that you said you didn't officially start like writing books and such until a few years ago, because I read Doll and I'm still currently reading Fright Bites, and I feel like what I'm reading is from an author that's just been writing for a really long time. It just lands. It is so solid.
Thank you. That's such a huge compliment. I tell you, I I will tell you this. When I was very nervous when I first started sending things out, you know, just like to like e-zines and magazines, because you know you get the rejections, you know, and you just have to have a thick skin and keep on going until you know one day you get that magical hit, and you're like, okay, I guess I can really do this. So, and you just keep plugging away, you know, and I still get rejections today, but that's just part of it. But I really had no idea that I could do something and create something like that. So it took me by surprise myself. So to hear you say that means so much to me. So thank you. It really does.
Absolutely. Like there is a tone that is unique to you in your, at least what I've read so far, Doll, which is a full length book, and then you have the anthology series, but you have a very clear voice, and it does feel like someone who has developed that like long ago. And so when you're like, I just started a few years ago, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what you put out in a few years from now, because you're already out the gate swinging.
Wow, you're totally making my night and my weekend, Ashley. So give me some inspiration to write something tonight. So thank you.
Do it.
I will.
I like to write as well, and sometimes, like Ashley had asked, do you get the ideas and are they with you like throughout the day? Mine would always come at the worst times, like when I'm taking a
Oh,
shower. Have you ever had that happen and you had to
yes.
jump out real quick and write it down? Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. You just never know when they're going to hit, you know? But yes, I have had them in the shower. And I keep replaying it in my head until I can, get somewhere and get it out because, you don't want to lose it. That's the fear, that you have. You're going to lose something about it. Or, maybe you have this, this weird dream and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to get it out before I forget, what happened. I don't want to wait an hour from now because you lose things if you don't capture it right then and there. So I totally understand and can relate to you, John. So,
Nice. Good. I'm not the only one.
nope, absolutely not. I think a lot of authors can relate to you.
I actually have a friend who she will take her phone and put it near her shower. And if an idea hits her while she's in the shower, she hits the voice memo record
Hmm.
and she'll say like random blurbs. But she says it's funny when she goes back to check those because she hears the shower and then it's just like pure string of words. And she's just like, I hope I can remember what I was trying to convey in that moment.
Hmm. Hmm. But that's smart. Very smart.
I have to do that as well. Not in the shower, but like I have ADD, so my mind's all over the place. And
Hmm.
so if I lose it, then it's just gone. And then I've thought about like 8 different things since then, and I'm like, oh no, I lost this idea that I thought was good, but who knows, right? It's gone. So you gotta like do some kind of voice memos.
Hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
I had a question for you as well about like a lot of your writing, at least the anthology stuff is horror based, right? So I guess is there a reason that you decided to go that route rather than like any other genre?
Sure.
Like what is it about horror that you're like, "Ooh, this is for me."
Uh-huh. Well, I tell you what, I have to blame it on my mom. She introduced me to horror when I was like young. I think I was like a pre junior high. You actually know what I'm talking about. And so I think I was maybe, gosh, BJ, I probably was like maybe 7 or 8. And there was this radio station, because I'm a '70s, '80s, baby, and it basically told like podcasts today told stories on the radio. So it came on like every Friday night, and it always told a different story. And so it just totally pulled me in. And then of course my mom had some horror books on her bookshelf, and so you know kind of delved into that. And my first horror movie I ever watched was Carrie. you know, and I was pretty young when I watched that, the original. And I was just so intrigued by the story and, Carrie White and everything she was going through. I didn't understand everything then, until, like, as I, became older and I understood and I put everything together. But that right there, and I just fell in love with it. So it was that, it was, I don't know if you remember the movie Squirm. I don't know if you remember that, but that and the Friday 13th and the Halloweens, the Michael Myers, and just all of those 80s slasher movies. That just I just couldn't get enough of it. I just loved it and I craved it, and that's why I write horror. But I will kind of touch other genres as well. But first love is horror.
It shows. You do
Yes.
it well.
Thank
I
you,
was going to
Ashley.
say that reading Doll, I kind of towards the end got a little Carrie vibes. I'm not going to lie.
John, you hit it. I tell you what, two things. Two things inspired the Doll trilogy. And it was a story my mom told me. And yes, of course, Stephen King Carey. Absolutely. You hit it. Yep.
And what I love that you integrate into your stories, because it was in Doll, but it's also in the different stories within Fright Bites, is there is a cultural aspect that I feel like we don't get enough of. We've got like this, I think with Doll, he had his cousin, was it Lisette?
Yeah.
With like the Louisiana vibes. And then in Doll, you've got Pachui, which talks about the different Native American beliefs. And I love that you weave those into your stories. But you know what else that I love that you do? You're a pop culture fan.
I am.
So you reference yup, you reference things like Superman comic book editions and, like, different things that you don't normally see in stories, especially contemporary stories. It gets kinda lost, and so, like, the nostalgic person in me, I see that, and I'm just like, "Ah, fandom, I love it."
The PM Dawn shirt in Doll as well. Like I used to listen to PM
Yep.
Dawn in the 90s. Come on, like yes, I loved
Yeah.
it.
I'm so glad. Yay. I am. I will tell you, my editors, they'll sometimes criticize. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're referencing, too much of pop culture. And I said, well, that's just part of who I am. And, I'm always going to do that. And I just can't stop doing it because it just comes, it's like you can't stop something that just flows. And so, we argue a little bit, but I keep it.
And I think it's kind of crucial to some of these stories, right? Like I was reading Wake and with the Superman and all that. Like that one I really liked because I'm a big Superman fan and all that. But yeah, just the cape, the ending of it, just I was like, ooh, that's kind of messed up, but also like, oh, that's fun, right? Like there's so much I think nostalgia, and I think people identify to these references so much that I don't know. I've heard in filmmaking that like you don't want to do that as much as well. I mean, I guess it's you want to future proof stuff, but again, if you want to create something that is a story that's in time, that you want people to understand who these people are, and their likes and dislikes of the time is very important to that. And that's how I think people can identify with your stories a little bit more, because they're like, oh yeah, this person, I can identify really well with them because of the blanket that they have from Cobra Kai, or whatever it is. Right. So yeah, it's I think that's an important part that I don't know. I don't know if I agree with the editors being like, you shouldn't reference that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Well, I think it tells us who you are as an author too. It tells us what you like and what you're into and where your interests lie. And I like that because through reading your stories, sometimes you read you read books, and writing a book is hard. So I'm not knocking anybody. Completing a story is extremely difficult. But you read things and you're like, I have no idea who the author is. And that's a good and bad thing, I suppose, because you're lost in the world. But for me, it's nice when I can read things and start to really gauge, this is who my author is. This is what they like. This is the love they thread into their world. And I like that because then it connects all of the worlds together.
Yes, absolutely. I love how y'all put that. I so agree.
Now, I will say that reading Fright Bites, there were a few stories that I personally, this is just purely self serving, would love to see you expand into a complete world. Like, for example, Naughty or Nice. Like that, I'm like, where's that going? I have to, there's so much there in that world that I love the way you give just enough. And then I'm like, but I need more.
Oh, I know, but I love to hear that because that one I was kind of nervous putting it in because I'm like, because it was that story there was for like, how can I explain it? It was an anthology, and it's like this author, okay, this is where you start, and then the next author you come in, and this is the area that you start. So it was almost like a puzzle. So I was like, how that's
Mhm.
gonna be taken by. So you know what? I'm gonna put it in there anyway. So that's interesting that you named that one. It is because I was really nervous about that.
I think that one fits really well because there's so much left in there, and the nod to, you know, was it Frau? I can't remember the
Okay.
name of the witch,
Yes,
but the
I know you're
witch
talking about that.
that yeah, it's just like, wow, there's so much there that could be played with. That could be. It's a great standalone, but it can also just go further. And also with oh goodness, what was the one with the concert?
Oh, Night Tour. Night
Yes,
Tour.
that one.
Yes.
That was another one where I'm just like, that could be a whole book series. It could be a TV series. Like, it was
Oh,
just amazing.
thank you so much. And you know that one there, that was my reimagining of Little Red Riding Hood. I don't know if you caught that.
Yep.
Okay.
I did. And I love what you did with it though, because we do see Little Red Riding Hood put forth every so often in different ways, but the route that you took with it. And I don't want to give spoilers in it, but like just like the route that you took with the lineage and stuff like that, I was like, ooh, and this kind of supernatural elements that also were woven in. I'm like, this is a fresh take on Little Red Riding Hood. And I also want her hood. I
You were
want her
looking it off.
cloak.
Oh, I know. I love that. I did. Well, I tell you what, Ashley, you just giving me all. Y'all are just making me just feel so good about my writing and everything. So thank you. This is. I wasn't expecting this at all. So this is good. You're giving me all the feels for sure.
Well, we're really big into horror and all the stories, so it's anything different, unique, that's something that, and especially something from our childhood, right? Like I think as older people, we identify a lot with all of the things that you've been putting out there, and it's cool. It's fun. It's a look to the past that doesn't really exist anymore, which is unfortunate, right? Like it's they remake stuff, but it doesn't have that same feel sometimes. Sometimes it does, like Stranger Things, yeah, but like there's some other stories that try to remake whatever's, from the past, and they just don't do as good of a job because it's too much bias of what's going on right now. Like there's too much of a like this is how things are now. This is what we've learned, and so it's just a little bit different. It's a different kind of lens
Hmm.
for storytelling, and I don't know. I think that's some of that is it takes away from it a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. I think yours is just so it's fun. It doesn't feel it's fun and it's also kind of gross, like with some of them, like the patchouli, like
Oh yeah, yeah.
oh my.
That was a little
Mhm.
different.
But
It
can we
was
talk
great.
about how awesome that was? Like seeing
Yes.
the curse play out, and with the more that's at first you feel sympathetic, right, for the character, but then as you're more and more and more is being revealed, it's like, yeah, take his teeth out. Like it just
That's right. Yeah.
we're on that like that adventure that or we're on the journey of he's deserving every ounce of that
Hmm.
curse. And I love it that it was a slow
Yes,
reveal. So
I love doing that.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
But like, oh, just the imagery
I
of it.
know.
I
I
think
know.
for me, it was just like, because I like mouth stuff, right? Going to the dentist, like that the kind of thing gives people a lot of just bad vibes,
Yep.
just thinking about going to the dentist. But then you add a curse to it, and then you add this eggs and all of these other things. You're like, oh no, it's just yeah. For me, that one got to me. I was just like, oh man, like oh
I was, kind of going back and forth. Okay, which story should be the first story? And it's like, okay, you have to get the order. And I said, well, I'm gonna start off with that one because I think that will be my pull to keep my readers, going. And I knew it was going to be graphic, and that was my intent to make it graphic. And I was inspired, at the dentist's office myself to write that. So I was kind of thinking while I was waiting, for the dentist to come in, I just kind of got this thought, I'm like, what would it be like if you were at the dentist and something was really bothering you and you didn't know what it was, but your dentist discovered it? So that's how that kind of that started evolving. And so that's how that came to be. But I did struggle because I wasn't going to put that first, in the beginning, but then I'm glad I did. So
I am too. You came out the gate swinging.
good.
I think it also plays on people's fear. A lot of people dream about losing teeth. Like that's a really solid fear a lot of people have.
Mhm.
And this story really just it plays on all of those fears. The dentist, losing teeth, and I love that there's this idea, yes, you can get teeth infections
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
cause blood infections, and so it's a real thing. And then you use that and pulled in these, supernatural kind of elements, and it worked. It worked really well.
Yay. Thank you.
What's funny is that I just went and saw a buddy of mine who used to be in the Navy, and we were talking about teeth stuff, and he was saying that in the Navy, like you can't even if you have a phobia, like they don't care if you missed a dentist appointment and you have to get like a cavity taken care of or something, even if you don't have anything, like they will walk you to the dentist to and watch you to make sure you get all of your stuff done,
Wow.
because in the Navy, right, they're out at sea for however long, and if you have they don't have a dentist on board, and so if you have a problem, they have to fly you out with a helicopter, and it's going to cost a lot of money for them just because you were too afraid to get it taken care of before you guys shipped out. And so, like, I think about that kind of stuff, and I'm like, oh man, that would also be kind of a fun story where, yeah, maybe you do get everything checked out, and then you're on this ship, and you can't. There's nobody there that you don't have this dentist that has all this information, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but yeah, you just think about these kinds of stories, and that was just fun for me. It just brought up a lot of things for me. With the dentist too, because I'm not a big fan of going to the
I know.
dentist,
I don't
even
think a
though,
lot of people are. So, but
yeah.
yeah, you're right. You're so right, BJ. Mm-hmm. Good points.
I also love, at least this is my assumption, and I could be wrong, but also based on the cover art, that a lot of your characters are based on like diverse characters. And I appreciate that, like to have the different cultural backgrounds and the diversity represented. Like that's a big deal for me. And so it's nice to see that, and that you have such a beautiful way of describing your characters. You use like vivid colors and just I love it.
Thank you. Oh my goodness, Ashley. I tell you, wow. I'm just gonna be flying high after this, I tell you. Oh,
Fly high. You earned it.
thank y'all so much. Oh my gosh. Oh, I love all the questions and everything that y'all throwing at me. So
How did you, because you've got a lot. In Fright Bites alone, I believe there's 29
9, you got it.
stories.
Uh-huh.
So with it, is it like you had the inspiration with the dentist's office for Pachui? Is it just really like pulling source? Like, do you have on your computer or in a notebook just like hundreds of short stories, and you try to just figure out what goes in the anthology?
You know, I do have like folders and notebooks of just little summaries of stories. Might not use it immediately, may use it later, but I do. I keep it. I just kind of keep them all together, and then I just kind of figure out, okay, for this collection, I'm gonna do these stories, and I just start building them, up. And I already have like a list for Fright Bites 2. I haven't started.
Oh, yes.
I haven't started like the major stories, but I have some little pieces. But I already have like a running list of kind of what stories I want to tell in the next volume. So
That's so exciting.
I'm so excited, Ashley. I am.
Now, something we haven't touched on that you do in Fright Bites is you have an accompanying song that goes with the story.
Yes.
Now, is this a song that comes into play that you choose after, or is this something you write to? Like, how does that
Okay.
work?
So I will tell you, I think after Doll, I started doing playlists. I love doing a playlist with anything that I write. It can be just a story, and I have a song for that particular story, or I just do a whole collection, at the end. Because I did that in Doll 2, Doll 3, and I did it in Fright Bites. And sometimes I already have the song in mind that's going to match, the story. Or right after I write it, I get inspiration just by listening, and I listen to everything. I love all types of music. And then I know, ooh, that's the song that goes with story X, oops, that's the song that goes with story J. So I just kind of put them all together. So, and the song, hopefully, is a kind of goes in with the theme too. I try to make sure it doesn't always work out that way, but I try to make sure that they are parallel in a way. So yeah, I do both ways actually to answer your question.
That's so great. We had a guest on recently that does like he has an app that's mixed it's mixtapes or playlists, but he very much is that same like what's your mixtape of the day, or what's your mixtape to your book or your story. So it just reminded me of that because he wanted us to create a mixed tape for like our investigations and stuff like that. So I love that you have full playlists for these stories that accompany them, because again, something I've never seen someone do. And I think it's fun because a lot of these songs I do recognize, and the ones that I don't, I actually look them up
Good.
to listen to it, to correspond with the story, to see, is there something, it adds to the story, the tone, it gives it another layer. So it's fun.
Absolutely. And I have to listen to music when I write. I have to. Because music, if you think about it, that's what really drew me into writing, because every song has a story, you know? And so if I'm not listening to music, I can't write. I don't write as well if I don't hear something playing. And it doesn't have to be loud, just something, in the background. And every, genre of music helps you write too, what kind of story that's gonna, unfold. So it's just magic. Music is magic.
Is there a particular, not just song, but maybe even score from a movie, a horror movie that you just fell in love with and kind of gives you inspiration
No,
that maybe isn't in any of your books?
everything. No, not just one in particular. Mm-mm. I love everything, even Star Wars. I, you know,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, it's just everything. I just listen to everything, so it just helps.
Miracle, are we the same person?
Oh, yeah. Actually, we do have a lot in common.
Miracle said Star Wars, and I'm like, where's my backpack?
Right? Yep.
Oh my
I was
god!
like, I'm
But
not
yeah,
wearing my Star Wars shirt, but I was.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But BJ, yes, I listen to everything. It doesn't have to be one particular, you know, soundtrack or score. It's just everything.
You really do have a lot of different subcategories covered within your stories, within the horror umbrella. But do you find that you gravitate to a specific topic more? Like whether it be witchcraft or vampires, or like with your writings?
Gotcha. I like all of my stories, and they don't all do this, but I always like them to have a moral, learn something from them. Okay, and I also like, you know, the outcasts, the one who's getting bullied, to definitely, you know, the the bad guy, the mean girl, the mean boy, to get what's coming. So I do like that theme a lot. That's one of my favorite tropes for sure.
I had a question. It's kind of similar to what Ashley was asking you, but have you ever, when you're thinking of these stories, is it ever based on personal experience, like a paranormal experience of your own that you've had? I don't know. I'm interested in that because, like, one of our biggest, I mean, John's our, resident, ghost hunter. And I'm sure he wants to know, like, if you've ever had any kind of things happen to you in your life.
Great question, BJ. I haven't had a lot of paranormal things happen to me. I have not. I kind of like wait for it, but it hasn't. But what I do listen. I listen to other people's stories. A lot of things my mom has told me when she was growing up in a small country town. I take all that. But no, not personally, I have not. But other people's stuff, I use it. Whether standing behind someone at Walmart or, the airport or whatever. At the workplace is great, all the that they talk about. So I pull all of that. So no, I haven't had any major paranormal experiences. I've seen the light flicker on or off, or, heard some creaky noises in the house, but nothing major at this time.
I feel like I love it. The world is your inspiration.
It is, because you just never know where you're going to hear something that's like, I can use that. And you store it, you store it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like I've found myself talking to lots of people, but like that's the conversation, right? There's all these memes about like I don't have normal conversations. There's always like aliens will come up in a conversation no matter what. We
Mm-hmm.
could be talking about laundry soap, like
Mm-hmm.
it's going to end up with aliens.
Absolutely.
or or
Yeah.
ghosts or like hauntings, and I love that. I love just getting to know, like you said, getting to know all these different people because they have different perspectives, and the way they tell a story is very different than the way you would tell a story, but also their experience is unique as well. And it's like, well, tell me, let's get into it because it's not just your normal everyday, stuff.
No, it's not. So agree.
So with the books like Doll and or I'm sorry, yeah, the books like Doll and the different stories within your anthology series, especially when it comes to like the witchcraft elements and like the Louisiana witchcraft, which is very different than
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a lot of other areas because it mixes, like I think you said it in your book, it mixes the Haitian and the voodoo and the like all of the different things. So do you have to do much research with these kinds of stories to write about them, or is it because this is your world you're creating, you just create the rules within it as
You
well?
know what? I do both actually. I do a little research, you know, and I borrow from, what my mom has told me and her great grandmother has told her. So I just use all those elements, and then I use a lot of fiction too. A lot of stuff I just make up along the way, and it just kind of balances itself. So I use it all. I do. I don't think I do a ton of research. I know a lot of authors do a ton of research. I don't do a lot of that. I do a little bit, but I just kind of use it from what I already know and make it up along the way.
You talked about your mom, that she tells you these stories. And that's a big thing, I think, with us too, like our families, when we talk about that stuff, sometimes they're receptive to it, sometimes they don't want to talk about it at all.
Hmm.
And that's awesome that it sounds like your mom's all about it, right? Is that is that kind of what that's how that is?
Yes, and you know what's so funny? Since she's, in her younger days, oh my gosh, she'll watch all types of horror movies with me and read horror books and tell me all these stories that she knew. But now, since my mom has become older, she doesn't. She's kind of like pushed herself away from it, um, which is fine, And sometimes she'll question me about what I write or what I watch, and I just throw it back to her. I said, "Mom, it's all your fault. You introduced it to me, and just kind of stuck with it. So, there you have it." And so, she doesn't receive it as much as she used to when she was younger, but that's okay, you know. So I just use everything that she has shared with me, and I'll continue to use it.
You said that she had stuff like maybe paranormal stuff go on back in her
Hmm.
town or back where she's from, is that
Yes,
right?
yes, a lot of things happened. I don't know if you're familiar with Crawford, Texas, but a lot of different things happened. That she would tell me that happened to her, or her friends, or her great grandparents, or her mom and dad. So I just took all of those stories, um, and I use them. I've written a few of her stories, and sometimes she don't even know that it's her story until she reads until she reads it and gets into it. But I use that history, because I think everyone has rich histories of different stories that's been told just along the way, and it's just a matter of what you do with it and how you develop it. So that's
Well,
what I do with it.
that's super important. I
Hmm.
mean, when it's your family,
Yes,
there's
yes.
I mean, that's kind of the point of I don't know, I think with families is passing down these
Hmm.
stories,
Absolutely.
whether they be about paranormal stuff or anything else, right? Because you're trying to teach the next generation of these things, and not to be scared of them. And it sounds like your mom's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank
Like,
you. Thank you, BJ. I think she
yeah, it
is.
sounds
So I appreciate
right.
that.
Yeah, because sometimes people, sometimes sometimes my parents aren't so they're not so cool when it comes
Yeah.
to horror,
I get
like,
it. Oh, I
you
totally
know.
understand. Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
but yeah.
absolutely. I get it.
The stories that your family tells you, is it mostly centered around Crawford, or is it also, like, family kinda, like, lore passed down?
It's kind of a little bit of both. A little bit of both. Um, I think it's the majority is probably what she experienced or what was told to her when she was growing up in Crawford, and then just kind of other things along the way as she grew up.
Do you have, family now that still experiences things, like, that you're able to pull from, or is it more so stuff that was passed down?
It's more passed down. Hmm. Unless they don't want to tell me, and that could definitely be the case too. Some people just don't want to talk about it. Yeah.
Especially in Texas.
Yes. No, I know. But yeah.
Is there anything that you learned more about yourself through the writing process?
Ooh, that's a good question, actually. I think for me, I've learned to when I write, I used to restrict myself a lot by trying to make sure, that particular paragraph is perfect before I move on, to the next one. But I've learned to just free write and just write it, just vomit it all out. Just get it all out because you can fix it later. Don't worry about it. I mean, it doesn't even have to have all the different scenes in it, the right colors or the right description, the misspellings. I mean, that's just what it is. It's just raw. And so just to be able to let myself go and be okay with that, I think that's been one of the biggest things for me. Um,
Have you ever thought of getting into maybe script writing at all? Because I feel like you would have so much fun writing some scripts, and I would love to make something, right? Like we have backgrounds in filmmaking, and I think some of these short stories would be really fun to make. I think it
wow.
would be easy to make, and
Wow. Wow.
I yeah.
Well, I've had friends who have dealt who definitely have experience in writing scripts. I guess I'm scared. I'm gonna be honest with you, BJ. I'm afraid. Because I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know the first thing about script writing. So I'm just like, but I have thought about it, and I hear different people talking about their experiences and things of that nature. But that's one of my that's a fear. So yeah, that's why I haven't done it. It's a fear, just to be honest.
I
It's
completely get
hard.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'm with BJ though. I honestly want to see Doll made into a miniseries on Amazon. Like, and I've only read the first book, so I would love to see that as a series. Yeah, that would be amazing.
I tell y'all, that wow, I'm just blown away. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, John. Thank you, BJ and Ashley. Oh my goodness.
So I will say this, script writing can be incredibly difficult when you're an amazing novel writer. And here's why, because transitioning from being very descriptive, talking about the touch, the feel, what you see, like all of that, you create a world and you have to just rip it all away. It's really action driven, setting a space like in a script, like here's our world, here's the action and dialogue, and all of the details just have to kind of go away unless they're absolutely crucial. And that's the hardest transition, but it's doable.
Hmm.
And then it's hard to go backwards. I will say that. Like once you get used to like, okay, here's my straightforward cut and dry script. Now go backwards and fill it in. You almost feel like you're giving too many details. So I would say don't be afraid to try it. Have fun with
Uh
it
huh.
because I think it helps you understand yourself in a different way as a writer, how to set up things differently. I think script writing helps create stronger dialogue. So some people are like, I don't feel like my dialogue's that great. And it's like, write a script, you'll get really good at
Oh,
it.
no, that makes sense. That really makes sense how you break it all down. Wow. My goodness.
But your and like BJ said, your Fright Bites, like any of those could be phenomenal
Oh,
short
oh
films.
my
So
gosh. Wow. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much.
I think for me on my side of things with the script writing, like it's exactly what Ashley said. You have to be able to just give us very short description of something, set up a whole scene in like 4 lines or less, or not a lot to go on, but it's got to be that. Like like I was talking about earlier with the Superman cape and like the the nail on the floor
Hmm.
sticking
Hmm.
out, right? Like little things like that, or it's like, oh my god, it's such a big image. And like that is something that stands out with your writing. It's very easy to see what's going on. And I think for a script, that's the goal, right? You're trying to show, don't tell, right? You don't want people, that's the big thing, you don't want people to tell each other in the dialogue, this is how this works, this is how this
Hmm.
works.
Hmm.
You want to be
Yes.
like, be descriptive, and you're, yeah, something that you do very well.
Thank you. Wow. Thank y'all. Thank you.
and you already know how to pack a punch in a very short space. Like some of these short stories are 2 pages or 3 pages. Like they are just yummy, scary bites,
Mm.
literally fright bites. Um and so you're capable. And here we are, we're talking you into writing. We're like, write a script.
Wow. I tell you.
But write Fright Bites too before you write a script. Just
Got
kidding.
it. I love it, actually.
There I go,
No,
self-serving again.
no, no, it's so interesting because I've been juggling, and I will tell you, I'm like, I have this vampire story in my head too. I do, and then I'm like, okay, do I do that? Or do I do Fright Bites 2? And then I have this other one too. I was going to tell y'all. It's been on the back burner for probably over 10 or 12 years. And it's more adult. It's a collection, but it's more adult. And I just kind of forgot about it, honestly. But I need to do something with it. So it's like I have these 3 different directions I can go in, and I'm just not sure which way to go. And so that's something that a writer and authors battle with too. Do I do this story over here, or do I do this one over here? And it's just like, which one? So it's kind of, it's like a tug of war, at times, and you try to figure out which is the best direction. So sometimes, what I've ended up doing, I just kind of see which story's pulling me the most, and I just kind of go that direction. So I'm still being pulled, and I just haven't landed yet, but I think I'm gonna land pretty soon. So,
I have an idea.
oh, what's your idea?
Well, your music, I mean, I was going to say vampires first, but that aside, you had me at vampire. But that aside, you're very music driven. So I would say pick a playlist, play it, and see which story correlates. Like,
Oh,
which one does it motivate you to write?
okay.
I
Okay,
don't know.
no, that's a great idea. No, thank you. That's a very good idea. Okay, I'm definitely gonna try that. So thank you. The inspiration
I mean, I love that you have so many different
I
avenues.
do, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it's just like, come on now, you gotta just focus on one. So it's hard. I don't know if y'all struggle with that when you have like, okay, what am I gonna do? You know,
Oh,
you've ever
yeah.
experienced that? I'm sure you have. So.
I think it
Yeah.
drives me to like action paralysis when there's so many things that I'm like, I don't know which to work. Oh, yeah. And then I just freeze and
I
eat
know.
ice
I
cream.
know. Yes, it helps. It does. It does. You gotta have that. So
Miracle, can I ask you,
absolutely.
if you were to write a vampire story,
Mm.
when would it take place?
Ooh.
And
Oh,
yeah,
like
like what
when?
kind of
Like
vibe would it have?
when you say when,
Period in time.
the period in time, like a period of time. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe 80s. I don't know. I'm thinking 80s maybe or current. Yeah. I have a title. I don't mind throwing it out because I've been messing with it. Misties. Misties. Misty.
Oh,
Uh huh.
nice. Are these vampires traditional? Are they? I guess you can make them whatever you want. That's the fun with vampires. You can do whatever you
Yeah,
want.
that's
Like,
true. That's true. They're more on the traditional side. Yeah, more on the traditional side, and maybe some other things. Not sure yet.
When we say traditional, do we mean like Nosferatu Dracula or like sexy 80s vampires?
Mm, maybe a little both. A little
Ooh.
both.
I'm
You just
shook
won
it.
over Ashley. Yes. She was already won over, but now she's even more won over.
I know. I can see. Let me tell you where all this is coming from. Okay, there's something that's driving this. Um, First of all, I have to say thank you and give a shout out to my best friend Jacqueline Smith, because she's the one that connected me to you, Ashley. So that's why I'm here with y'all, and I thank you so much for having me on your amazing podcast. So we just experienced Vampire Weekend, Vampire Diaries. So that's why I'm on the little vampire high right now. That's probably the only reason why I'm on my little vampire high after the weekend. So it was pretty amazing, just seeing all the fans and the celebrities and things of that nature, and just that whole, just being in that atmosphere. So that's where this is coming from. I think more than anything. Um, so it might just go on the wayside, after a few days, but I'm still on my vampire high.
Oh no, it's not going by the wayside. I'm gonna start messaging you vampire like pictures and video clips, and we're just gonna keep it in your face.
Okay. I love that. You go right ahead. Go right ahead. Seriously. I love that. So, but, but
And we loved Jackie. I met her at one of the events, and I absolutely just loved
yes,
her. So I
yes.
was excited to have her on. And I'm so glad she connected us to
Me
you.
too.
Just all good vibes.
Me too. I'm so happy to be connected to y'all because y'all are amazing. Y'all
Thank
are.
you.
You're welcome. Thank y'all. Goodness.
of course. Miracle, have you been to other? You said you went to Vampire Weekend. Or have you been to other conventions or things of that?
Oh, yeah. I love Comic Cons. Oh, my gosh. Yes. I probably try to go to. Goodness. I try to go to maybe like 3 or 4 a year. I try to do Comic Cons, and then I do some teen book festivals throughout the year. I'm probably going to go to Texas Frightmare Weekend. It's in May in the Dallas area. So I'm really thinking about doing that. It's been a few years since I went to it. And so I'm like, I think it's time to go back. I should have went last year because you know what? John Carpenter was there. And I don't know what I was thinking.
Mm.
I think what it was, I was going to get a photo op, and they all sold out. And I'm like, you know what? Just forget it. I'm not going to go because I didn't get my photo op in time. So, but I do, BJ. I love going to Comic Cons. Just being in the different fandom worlds. I love it. So I
So
do.
much fun.
They are. Oh my gosh, I have such a good time. And a lot of times I go and I work them, you know. But then there's other times when I go, I just want to just be a fangirl. I just want to just go around and just have a good time. But for the most part, I work them, but I love them. I just love seeing all the different cosplayers and just all the energy. It's just great energy. So love it.
It's fun. It's funny that you brought that Texas one up because I have a friend who's I just interviewed or I just did a podcast episode with her and she's really into all that and she told me about that one that you're talking
Huh?
about and I guess it must be a pretty
It
big one
is. It's a
because
big one. It's a huge one.
In in terms of horror conventions, Texas Nightmare is like one of the top
Uh
5.
huh.
So
oh
it's a pretty huge event.
It is.
It's been on my list to attend.
Oh, you
I
gotta do
love
it.
the horror cons.
Y'all got to do it. Oh my gosh, you got to do it. So yeah, it's usually packed. I mean, the first year I went, they used to hold it at a convention center DFW area, and they moved it to Irving. And I think maybe last year or the year before, but it was so packed. BJ, Ashley, and John, is like you would be walking, in a crowd, and you could just kind of move your elbow and you're touching the next person. I mean, it was just so compact. So it's like crazy. I was like, oh my gosh. So if that's a phobia of yours, then just want to pre-warn you. But I think because that was a smaller venue, I'm thinking since they moved it to the Irving Convention Center, I think that's where they're going to have it again. That's a much bigger venue. So that's a good thing. Because a lot of people do attend it.
Do you have a favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movie?
Oh, it has to be the first one. The very first one, because I tell you what, the scene two scenes. The one when the character is walking in the school hallway, and then her body is in that bag, and it's just like pulling her bag. And then the one when you know the one I'm getting ready to talk about, the bed scene.
No.
Oh, that right there. Yeah. The very first one. Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite horror icon? Like maybe outside of Freddy, just a favorite?
Ooh. I'm going to have to say Michael Myers. He is one of my favorites. Candyman. And
Yes.
and the Night Flyer. I know it was just a short story, but that particular, I don't know, that story's always stuck with me. Night Flyer.
No, same. That's probably one of my top favorite Stephen King stories is The Night Flyer. So
yeah,
we're the same person.
I know. Oh my gosh. So glad we connected. Oh my gosh, I'm so happy.
Likewise. So, Miracle, in Doll, I love that you chose to make your protagonist, your main character, a teen male. You don't oftentimes see female writers, and I apologize if I'm
No,
misnaming any gender here, but
no. You're good. No, you're good. But you're right. You are so right. What you're about to say.
yeah, you don't often see female writers choose male protagonists, and I thought that was really cool. And reading it, I would never think, well, this was written by a woman. The way you capture, at least for me, I'm not a guy, but at least for me, I feel like that was the tone of a teen boy, a teen male. And so I thought that was really cool. Yeah.
Thank y'all, because I was nervous.
I definitely could identify with some of the things that he was going through and thinking and even saying.
Good.
So
That makes me feel so good because you never know. I'm like, because I did that on purpose. I said no. I said yes. I could have went the direction of writing the female character, making her my lead. But I'm like, no, I'm gonna switch it. And I had my husband ask him like just certain things as I wrote it. Like, okay, this is something that you would think that would come from a male perspective, and he would tell me, yeah. And then there would be other things like, need to change that a little bit. So I had his guidance some, but for the most part, I just kind of just took it from different pieces of males, just throughout my life, and just kind of tried to mesh it, and build that character up to all of that. And so to hear y'all say that I did a good job, that makes me feel really good. So thank y'all, because I was nervous writing from the male perspective. So I'm like, oh boy, yeah.
Well, the other thing I thought that was really neat is that, especially when it comes to witchcraft, which is, he's going to be a wizard, or I'm sorry, warlock. I've got Harry Potter on the brain. So he's going to become a warlock. Oftentimes especially in the YA genre, if it is a coming of age child when it comes to magic, it usually is a female becoming a witch. And in this case, not only are you writing from the male perspective, but you're also having a male come into his magical powers,
Yes.
which we don't see very often in the the YA supernatural world. Not that I'm aware of.
No,
So
but you're right. So, I'm so glad y'all. I tell you, y'all have picked up a lot, and I'm just so impressed and just so moved. But yes, and I wanted to do that too, because I don't, like you said, actually, you don't find a lot of that. So you know what they say: if you want something written, you got to write it. And so that's what I did, and I continue to do, to the best of my ability. So, um,
I think you did great.
thank you, thank y'all.
Now, I found it interesting you included both of your endings.
Mm.
Yes.
Which one did you like? Did you like the first one or the second one? That's okay.
Like, no, I liked them both. Here's the thing. I loved finding out who the owl was.
Oh,
I loved
did you
that.
like that part? Okay.
Yes, that part was for me, it was exciting. And then, hindsight, you're like, oh, all the clues were there.
Mm-hmm.
So I did love finding out what was it? Was it the master or elder or no? What was,
It's okay.
oh, I
I
forget what he
know.
was.
I know. I don't want to say too much just in case some.
Yeah, I'm not going to say too
But
much, but I love finding out who the owl
good,
was.
good.
But I did also like the way the other part ended because for me, there was more of like a tidy bow put on it
Mm-hmm.
that way.
Yep.
But it really could go either way. I liked them both so much. So I do love that you included them
Yeah.
both.
And I almost didn't, but I was like, oh, hey, that'd be kind of fun to do that. So I just kind of like, let me go ahead and add this. And so I added it to it. So I just thought it would make it fun, for the reader, so. And I also, to any novel that I write, I like adding an extra and a separate short story that has nothing to do with, the story that was, told, the primary story. So I like doing that a lot just to give you a little extra, like, there you go. Thank you for reading. Little gift. But
Yeah, I
wow.
like that. Not you don't see that a lot, especially in books.
Yes.
It's kind of like a nice little deleted scene that you would get on a DVD or something.
There you
So
go.
here's the alternate ending, and here's that. So yeah,
You got it.
um, yeah. I don't know which ending I like better. I think the original one ended too abruptly for me. I was getting into it, and I was like, oh wait, oh, but I already know that there's more. So
Uh
like,
huh.
I'm ready for it.
That's right.
So
There,
I already know there's
there's a
more.
yes,
2 and a 3. Absolutely.
yes, yes. And I will be
Absolutely.
purchasing those very soon.
Well, you know what? Y'all
So,
have been amazing. I would just love to gift those to y'all because y'all are
Oh,
oh,
taking your time to just have this time and ask me questions and share all of your beautiful information and your feedback. No, I want to gift that. So I'll be, I'll get with Ashley and I'll be sending. Yes, I will. I'll be sending y'all copies of, to 2 and 3. So,
that's
that
very
is so
sweet.
very kind of
and
you.
I will
Yes,
autograph them as well.
What?
Yes.
I
even
will say
better.
this, if you ever need a test reader
Oh,
1, 2, and 3, you've got them here.
okay. Okay. Great. Thank y'all. Thank you so much.
Ashley does that for scripts as
Oh my
well.
god,
Like
I do.
she's
I do.
that's amazing.
This time, I don't want to end the podcast episode, but I know this time has
Mm,
gone by so
I
fast,
know.
and it's much later where you're at. So,
It's so fun.
my last question for you that I have out of pure curiosity, as a writer, especially with the content, some of the things you write are very intense. Um, is there something that you have to do to kind of ground yourself out after you're done writing heavy or intense or scary scenes, or just anything that really pulls at you emotionally? Is there any kind of thing that you have to do to really reset from that?
That's no one's ever asked me that question. Very good question. I think for me, I probably to answer that question, actually, for me, I do step away. Depending on the intensity level of the subject matter. I will, do some self care, such as maybe I'll go and watch a movie or binge, a series or read, a book or some poetry, or do some, online shopping therapy. Um, that helps. And also, music. Music also helps me to get regrounded, and then refresh, and I'm ready to continue that journey.
I feel like, as we continue after this episode, I really would love to see more of your playlists that we can maybe share with listeners. It's just, Miracles playlists. Because I love that you are so musically inclined, because that is, to me, it speaks to me. I know a lot of us, we really are driven by music.
Hmm.
So I think that's awesome that you do
Oh, I
that.
do. I do. But yes, anytime, just let me know. I love to share that. I do.
Yes.
Yes. Mhm. Well, do y'all have any other questions for me, BJ, Ashley, John? Before I know it's time, but if there's anything else you want to ask me, please.
Is there anything that any advice you can give to new writers about just any kind of help for the process of just getting into something horror based that you can, give to the new writers that have a passion for it?
Let's see. I think I'm gonna say three things. Okay. My first thing is you got to believe in yourself. Okay, because it might just be you, riding this solo, um, because you don't have a lot of support sometimes. So you have to believe in yourself. You want to also, find your circle. Finding your circle is so important. Those people who support you, and it might just be two or three, and that's okay. But you got to find your circle. Don't be afraid to just put it out there. And when I mean by that is write it. You might not think it's good enough or what have you, but get it out there, because you can always, rebuild it and make it into something until you're happy with it. And the other thing is read, not just horror, read everything, whether it's a magazine article, or maybe it's a book outside of the horror genre. That's okay, because sometimes the best ideas are the ones that are mashed up, and they come from different sources. So get all of that information, because that is so important, because you never know what you're going to create. And then one more thing, go to, the Comic Cons, go to the book festivals, talk to the authors, talk to people who do podcasts, like y'all amazing people. But we all have different talents and sources of information, that we can, give as a gift, to the person, wanting to, take that leap. So, you know, definitely immerse yourself into everything as much as you can, because you just never know what's going to be a takeaway for you.
Thank you.
Let the world inspire you, right?
Right, absolutely. Absolutely, Ashley.
Thank you so much for coming on, Miracle. You have been just a phenomenal guest. I am going to send my thank yous to Jackie, and thank you, because this has been just an amazing conversation, and I really enjoyed your energy and your company. And I hope, if you're open to it, that you're able to come on again in the
I
future.
would love to. Thank y'all. Whenever y'all are ready to have me again, I would love to be a guest. BJ, Ashley, and John, it's been a pleasure. And thank y'all. And I look forward to coming back whenever it's time. And I will connect with Ashley and get the address. And y'all will be getting some goodies soon.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank y'all.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, John Thomas, you want to bring us home?
Absolutely. Thank you again, Miss Miracle. It's been amazing. I loved this time. Like Ashley said, it went by way too fast. Way too fast. And thank you to all of our listeners for listening to this episode of 300 Podcast with your host. I'm John Thomas.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
And I'm BJ Seura.
If you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 300podcast@gmail.com. And if you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. You don't want to miss amazing guests like Miss Miracle here. And get out there and read her books.
Until next time.
Dead of Winter Horror Network and Nick Kane from the 508 Productions invite you to endure the most terrifying immersive experience in all of podcasting. Beneath the Red Umbrella, now available wherever you listen to podcasts. Beneath the Red Umbrella, when the snow falls, the killing season